Welcome into Trucker Talk Radio, Behind the Wheelhouse, the show where we look at every aspect of logistics beyond freight. We look at leadership, culture, decision making.
We're joined by Daniel Iordan, founder and CEO of Moovers Chicago. So for all those listeners in Chicago, listen up. If you're looking to relocate, this is your guy. One of the most respected logistics companies in the Midwest. Daniel started Moovers Chicago with a simple but hard to execute mission: deliver reliable service, build strong teams, and grow the right way. Today's conversation is about leadership under pressure, building teams that take pride in their work, and what it really takes to scale a service business without sacrificing quality. Daniel, welcome to the show. Welcome to Behind the Wheelhouse. How are you?
Thank you so much, guys. It's lovely to be here. Justin, John, it's a pleasure and looking forward for a great conversation.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up. I wouldn't guess you're from Chicago just by listening to your accent. But so tell us where you're from, tell us about your childhood, and tell us how you got into entrepreneurship.
I am, when you look at me or when I interact with people, I always tell them that when they speak about the American dream, I'm it. Like you're looking at a young man who came in the United States when he was 20 years old, didn't speak the language.
Wait a second. At 20 years old, you didn't speak the language.
I did not. My English was very, very basic. I could ask.
Wow. You sound great.
Yeah,
I
for
went to
sure.
school, and again, these are the benefits of as an immigrant. The United States offers you a lot of ways for you to improve the language, to learn about the system. So I was blessed to take advantage of a program that's called ELS, English as
Okay.
a Second Language, in Chicago. So you would go to a community college, and they will offer you free classes, so you learn how to speak English. And then they had a bridge program where you can take college classes. So you get accustomed with politics, with economics, with business. And I took advantage of the free classes. And then I went to college and I got an associate's degree in liberal arts. And I have to
Mhm.
pay for those courses. But at least they allowed us as an immigrant, again, if you have the willingness and you can sacrifice your time. I could have chosen not to, but it paid out in the end. It paid out because it allowed me to understand the system. It allowed me to respect what United States stands for, the values. And I think if you play the right cards and if you think long term, chances are high that you're gonna succeed in your goals.
So where did you grow up? What country did you come from?
I grew up in Romania and I
Okay.
came in the United States when I was 20 years old. I started working in construction initially. I didn't know how to use an electrical drill. I had no idea, so I was taught from basics. After I worked a couple of years in construction, I was able to open my own company with one of my colleagues. I worked for a while in construction, and then the 2008 recession came in, and it just destroyed the ability to earn a living. I was left with a van, like one of those extended Ecoline Fords, and I decided to advertise on Craigslist.
Yeah.
People will call me and say, hey, I'll pay you $20 if you help me move a couch from here to here. And because it was very difficult at that time to find a job, I would take anything. And that's how I started. And in the meantime, I also went to school. I finished. I have a bachelor's degree in criminology, law, and justice. I've done that at UIC, University of Illinois at Chicago. And that allowed me to be flexible with my schedule to be able to do moves for people and also pay for my school and attend classes. After I finished the bachelor's degree, I worked as a police officer with Chicago Police Department for almost a year. It was a very important experience because it allowed me to see aspects of the American system and especially the economic and social system in terms of what's happening when there is a cycle where from one generation to the other, you see a mindset that takes away from the individual and his ability to succeed in a system like ours. And I think again, if you want to place blame on the individual or the environment, I think you're not going to come up to a solution. But what I can tell you that from a law enforcement standpoint, a lot of police officers out there, they are at the receiving end of bad policies, and they see how they affect the individual, the neighborhood, the family unit, the ability for an individual to have his own dignity taken away by the way the structure of the system hits him in the gut, and you feel helpless because at the end of the day, society, the economic system was supposed to help the individual because if he prospers, the family prospers. If the family prospers, then you help the system by being productive, by paying your taxing and doing all the things that are necessary for the system overall to be healthy. So I'm sorry I'm so long-winded about it, but I
No,
have
I
No,
think that you
no.
need to teach a lot of Americans what it is to
Yes,
be an American citizen.
exactly.
I mean, you've had this unbelievable and I'm sure intense experience. Growth always comes with growing pains. So I'm sure you're making a major impact on the people that you also employ, just given your experiences.
Again, coming from law enforcement, coming from a culture where we're more traditionals. I mean, we knew very well as a man, for example. I'm speaking strictly pertaining to my mission in life. I see it very simple.
Mhm.
I don't like complicated things, and a man should provide and protect his family. Always try to do your part, and when you do that and you are able to take care of the people around you that you're responsible for, you get a sense of dignity. And I feel responsible for the people who work for me because they trust me on a daily basis to put their time and their energy within my vision and my mission of the company for them to be able to provide for their family. So it's a domino effect. So it's crucial for every entrepreneur or every person that runs a business, and they already know this, but it's good to be reminded that you are responsible not only
Absolutely.
for yourself, but you're responsible for the livelihood and the families that depend on the employees that you have.
Before we move forward to what you're doing now, you'd already had a business before this. Me and John are both big entrepreneurial guys. I'm a fifth generation in my family. What made you want to own your own company? Was it from where you grew up, or was it once you got to America and got into college and seen that, maybe this is my way of path, or did you already have that kind of installed in you before you got to America, where that was your dream from the day you stepped on the soil, or was that something that you kind of learned over here on over here in the U.S.?
Learn it in US. We take for granted the word freedom and liberty. We take them for granted. We shouldn't. It expands more than just saying the word, right? You have to understand what it stands for the individual, for your own destiny. I like to be in control of my destiny. I like to have the freedom, if I can grow my business, to be able to do so. And if that requires sacrifice, that requires delaying my gratification and the things that I can enjoy today or a week for now, I would take that risk. And I think that's something that entrepreneurs and people who have this desire for liberty and freedom to control their own destiny is what allows you to have your own business. And again, this is what, as an observer, somebody coming from the outside, this is what's unique about the United States. I've seen it, and that's why I sometimes a certain type of talk, I have a tendency not to entertain it because, and I know I'm biased because I'm subjective in my analysis, but I've seen it with my own eyes, and I've lived it, and I see it. You can take advantage of the fact that in this country, if you apply yourself, there are high chances you're going to be successful. Where I come from, that you didn't have that luxury. Everything was who you knew. You can't. You're not being recognized for a good service just because it's a good service. It has to be within the confines of a network. Here, I came. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know how to do the business. I had zero reasons for me. Everything was stuck against me. But day by day, you apply yourself. You put $1 aside, you save it. Then tomorrow another dollar, and then when the opportunity comes, you invest it. You don't spend it for things that don't cash out in the long run. The system rewards you. Now, again, it might not work for everybody. There are exceptions to the rule, but it does work. And I don't know for how long it's going to work, but it does work. Right? The system rewards the people who want to be in a better position, who want to better themselves. This is the only place where a family can have 4 kids, and one can be a plumber, one can be a president, one can be a doctor, and one can be a lawyer.
So true.
Sure,
So
sure.
true.
He needs to be a motivational speaker. I think we found him another business start. I think he'd be very good at
Yeah. And
you
he's the
explain
best dressed on this show. I mean, that's for
by
sure.
far,
We got to step up our game for
by
sure.
far.
You're going to see me wearing a coat and a vest here soon.
That's right.
I'm dressing like men. I can't stress this enough. I see young men, a lot of the guys that work with me, I
Yeah.
always tell them, you want to be taken seriously. You need to start you need to take yourself
100%.
seriously.
That's right.
100%. Chicago is a competitive moving market, right? It's a competitive market, really, for a lot of industries. What differentiates Movers Chicago in a field where there's so many players?
I'll start by saying that there are over 450 companies that are licensed. There are a lot unlicensed, but that's my competition. So I have 450 companies. What differentiates movers, I would say, is the fact that the culture that we have at our core, it's about the customer, and we're not fighting for the customer to move with us. We inform the customer first and foremost when they call our offices. We try to inform them to make a good informed decision pertaining to the move they have coming. And it's okay if they don't move with us, because we're not for everybody. There are budget constraints, there are certain things that we're not the right fit, and we understand that. But we want every call that comes across our desk, the customer to understand that, hey, Sally, this is what you should know before you hire a mover. These are the things that you have to be mindful about. And then I would say a second element that sets us apart is the fact that every aspect of our business, from the moment you call until you pay your bill, you can see that the people working and that take you through the process, they care about what they do. And our trucks, our uniform, the equipment that we're using is well thought with that end goal in mind. If you look at our trucks, I am a big believer in the fact that the trucks, they need to look clean. They need to look sharp. You don't want rusty trucks. You don't want these, that appearance of not being trustworthy. And I
Yeah, you don't
spend a
want to
lot of
show
money.
up with a used U-Haul, right?
Yeah, and we're not doing that. No, all of our trucks are branded, they're wrapped, they're shiny, they're washed. And I spend a lot of money that I shouldn't in the image that we have, because I need our customers to trust us. We're going in the intimate space of a person. A lot of our customers are young women, females, they are single. And I send 3 guys, 2 guys. They need to look trustworthy because we go inside their homes. And how do you build that? Well, when the truck that comes in looks clean, the guys have the uniform with the name, they present themselves, right? They look ready. We inspire the trust that's needed for them to transition from point A to point B.
And I'm glad that you bring that up. We talk to large carriers, smaller carriers that do regional, OTR work. And we talk about that all the time, especially with owner operators of, appearance, your truck. I mean, just dressing nice makes a big difference. So talk a little bit about your equipment. Like you run box trucks. Do you have some 18 wheelers? Do y'all just do inner, or like in Chicago, or how far out will you move somebody in or out?
So, because I was in the field and I was a driver and I know what it means to drive a truck as a mover, I found the right fit, the right box truck for the city of Chicago and the streets and the alleys that we have. We don't have any 18 wheelers because we're not big enough where we can afford to have a CDL driver and to keep it busy as of right now. Do we plan to have that in the future? Absolutely. We move people from Chicago all over the country. So, especially customers who want to pay a little bit more and they want to get a crew that comes in, they pack them, they put their items in a truck or 2 or 3 sometimes, and then the same crew goes and moves them in Florida, for example. So we have the same, it's a premium service, but some people can afford it. And that's what differentiates us when it comes to long distance versus some other van liners or some groups of movers. What they do, they move the items. They'll be a lot cheaper than we are, more affordable. But what they do, they move the items multiple times from point A to point B. So, and then the timeline, it might take them a month and a half, sometimes 3 months to get you the items from Chicago to whatever you're going to California until they fill up our 18-wheeler. So we're more premium in the sense that, you tell us when you want us to come, when we want, like what date you want us to be at the new location. You have the same crew, nothing moved, it's the same truck. So some customers, our segment market, they like what we do. It's not for everybody, but we're comfortable
Yeah,
doing that.
yeah.
Specifically, the truck that I recommend, the one that we have, it's an NRR Isuzu, the 24-footer, and the radius to be able to turn with the box truck. We have 26, 24, 20, and 18. It allows us to take those tight turns in the city of Chicago. They're big enough, tall enough, and everything is designed specifically for what we have going on. So up to 3 bedroom, we can fit in a 26-footer, and it's more than enough for what we deal with.
I would think with what y'all are doing, even if you do bring in an 18-wheeler into your fleet, there's no way to bring that truck downtown. So you're going to have to move stuff 2 or 3 times to get it into a big truck if you're going to do that. And then every time you move it, I've been in the furniture business a long time myself. Stuff breaks. So the more you touch it, the odds are in your favor that something's going to get chipped or broke or something. So I could easily see that service of what I would call a white glove service, where you load up 2 box trucks and you just take it all the way versus having the big trucks, because I always joke the cities were built a long time before 18-wheelers at 53 foot was ever even thought about.
A company is only as good as its team, right? And in trucking, the turnover is astronomically high. It's higher than really any other industry. And that's because a lot of times in trucking, carriers are just trying to fill seats, right? They just want to put rears in the seats. They don't really focus on, is that driver a good fit? Yes, he has the safety standards, but is he a good fit for our company? Is he going to showcase the brand that we're trying to offer? Is he going to, give us a good appearance when he goes to deliver a load? What behaviors are you looking for when during the hiring process? What are you looking for, in this high service environment?
A lot of the drivers and the people that we're looking for, the reason why they can deliver is because everything before they come across our companies failed them. I honestly think that, our educational system failed those individuals. I think their families failed them, their churches, their friends, and they come, unfortunately, in a business where there's a high expectation for them to deliver for obvious reasons, because you agree to pay them what you agree to pay them, and they will fail. And it will be extremely difficult for a lot of owners to understand and design an intake process where who they are and what they do is going to set them up for success. A lot of people will say, well, the reason why, and I hear this word a lot, especially now because we're using a lot of technical words, systems. You build systems. No, okay. What does that mean? Oh, it's a step-by-step process and it takes you from A to B. But how do you do that with a fallen human being? With a person that never explained the attitude and the expectation in the workplace and why he needs to wake up and be there at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. Like you're dealing with so many aspects of an individual that are broken that you as an employer have to fix before he becomes the basic employee that you need. So you have to crack the code, meaning, first of all, don't hire more than you can afford, because that's rule number one. Sometimes we're desperate. I need to fill this seat. So just come in. As long as you're breathing, you're good to go. Try not to the best of your abilities. If you need 3 drivers or 1 driver, like be very mindful who you bring in. I live by a motto, a principle: hire for fit, not for skill. The culture of a company carries the values of the leader. The leader is the one who builds the culture. Okay, what does that mean? What's a culture in a company? Well, it's the interaction, the way people do what they do in the company. What's the internal engine? Why one person does this, and when he can give you the bare minimum, but he goes above and beyond. That phone call 1 minute before 5 o'clock that customer that he knows is going to keep him another 15 minutes, he takes that phone call and he doesn't go home. What motivates that employee to stay the extra 15, 20 minutes? So that's how you as a leader, you have to understand how to build those mechanisms, internal mechanisms in the people that work for you. For some people is a recognition. Some people need attention. Some people need money. As a leader, you have to identify the people that you work with, who you bring in your organization. You have to, you have to, you have to.
That is a perfect description of what an entrepreneur is and what, someone who's growing a business. You're an architect. Like you said, for the employee, a lot of times on the surface, it just may be about the money, but so many times it's deeper than that, right?
I heard some stats in regards to the numbers of individuals who have an addiction, especially in the trucking, the moving industry. I think our country is in. We need to do something about it, and a lot of employers don't have the tools necessary. Yeah, everything that I was talking about, we're dealing with a broken system, and it's more than just it's the inner parts of our humanity that are being chipped away one by one, and we have to recapture the culture of the working man. These are the men who are and men and women who are maintaining our society. There is absolutely nothing wrong. You don't have to be this famous individual to have your dignity. And I blame a lot of the pop culture that we have, and I'm not gonna say the name with H, that's driving a lot of the value system that we have and some, but there was a time when the community and the movies and the music would recognize how valuable a worker is. A plumber, an electrician, a dad who wakes up at 6 a.m. And comes back at 6 p.m. because he needs to provide for his family. How are we worshiping those people? How are we recognizing them at the cultural level, at the national level? Well, if you continuously only you only promote these exceptions, the guy who's 21 and he's a billionaire and he drives, 5 fast cars. How do you think I feel when I'm 23 with 2 kids and I don't have a high school because so it happens that I made some bad choices when I was 16. We need to make some changes. And I think it's more than just the employer, it's our society overall.
Well, I agree with you on that. I think the way you approach it is refreshing. You kind of hit it a nail on the head where, they look down at movers and truck drivers. They're some of the most important people. And I'll say this on what you just said about plumbers and electricians. I've got a 16-year-old daughter. I tell all her friends that are in school that are boys, even girls if they want to, that's the jobs you need to go after. 10 years from now, they're going to be the millionaires. It's not going to be the YouTubers and things of that. And that. You're always going to need an electrician. You're always going to need a plumber. You're going to need truck drivers. You got to move. People, those are infrastructural jobs that only get bigger and nobody goes after them. So where do you see your company? What's your goals in the next 5 years? What are you trying to do to get a little bit larger or more efficient technology wise? What kind of goals do you have in the next 5 years?
We definitely believe in planning as a company. I believe in planning. I'm big on strategy, and I think the actions that I take today they need to align with the journey that we need to be. So next 5 years, most likely we're going to be the dominating player in our market. Out of the 450, I think we're going to be the one that dominates, and hopefully we can start using the model in different markets. It doesn't mean that if something works in Chicago, it's going to work somewhere else. But definitely, I do believe that Chicago being such a tough market and competitive market, that will allow us the skills necessary to be successful in different markets. So that's our 5-year goal. By 2030, we want to dominate the Chicago market in terms of our services, local, residential, commercial. It's a little bit more difficult because Chicago has a lot of unions, so you have to play politics, and I try to stay away from it because then we're not in the moving business anymore. Now I need to so commercial, I don't think will be, but definitely residential. Storage, we offer storage and long distance or out of state services. I think we're going to start capturing more and more from the market.
What's, some of the toughest operational challenges you may have dealt with? And I'm curious how you handled it. I mean, so many times People overreact, right? And they get emotional and they rush to really make a bad decision. Talk about some of the, problems you faced in growing your business. Growing a business is like a roller coaster, right? It's up and down, and you just got to hold on tight.
We had our share from the fact that out of 10 trucks, out of a sudden, six of them they're not working, and you need 10 trucks tomorrow to serve the customers. Out of 25 drivers that were supposed to show up tomorrow morning, five of them don't show up, and then again, the customers are,
Jason,
they rely on you.
moving is
So
trucking.
Yeah.
Justin and I have both been heavily involved with trucking companies. I just sold a trucking company with 65 trucks, and maintenance and driver turnover and drivers saying they'll come out on Monday. Monday turns into Tuesday, Tuesday turns into Thursday, and then they
Mhm.
come in on Thursday, and then the next week they wonder why they didn't get much of a paycheck. So
I mean, what we're doing, one principle that I would like to share, and I think it's one that can be applied in despite the size of the company, is try to learn from your mistakes. And as long as nothing major happen, I can fix a truck. I can material things, we can fix them. But God forbid something happens that one of our drivers, they cannot work, or they get into an accident or something that I cannot fix. If it's fixable, I can pay money and fix it, then I'm happy. And it's very important to understand this thing. We're in an industry where cash flow comes and goes, but it's these principles that you identify them in terms of focus on the ones that are not costing people's health and people's lives. Do not mess with maintenance. Like, I'm big on maintenance. If there is something in compliance, if there is something that I know needs to be done, there is nothing more important. If I know there's something wrong, like the brake or anything about the vehicle, I am not sending that vehicle out under any circumstances, even though I could, and it will be more convenient. Because if I don't maintain the standard, I shouldn't expect the people under me to maintain the standard.
That's very well
So
said.
the moment you diminish that standard, the people around you will notice.
Well, before we wrap up the show, I've got a two-part question for you. First, I let our listeners know how to get in touch with you, where to find you, on your socials or the website. And then second, I kind of just out there question, what is the craziest thing that y'all have ever moved? Even if it was before in your little van, what's the craziest thing you moved?
So for number one, we're all over social media. So Movers, MOO, Movers Chicago. The logo of our company is a bull. A red bull has a couch on its shoulder. So we're trying to utilize social media as much as possible. We have a nice website with pictures and videos if you want to know about us. The craziest thing that I personally moved, I had a client that had a certain type of lady made of plastic that was very nicely dressed. Um, and he made it very clear that he wants me to move her at the end, and he referred to her as being her, his behalf. And I
This is
just,
great.
I mean, he watched me move her from the closet into the truck, and the way I position her, and him telling me that she doesn't like that. Like, it was challenging, but customer satisfaction, whatever
That's
needs to be
it.
done, as long it didn't cost me anything, just pay attention, see what he needed. And he was very happy because I related, and I could, I didn't make fun, or I didn't,
Right.
burst a laugh, or it just, I'm here to move your items. What do you need? I'll get it done. But it was definitely something that when I think about it, I do smile, because
that is
she had a
fantastic.
certain,
Yeah, that's great. Well, that right there, if you can keep a straight face and I mean that shows how professional you can be, because that would be a tough situation, I think, for anybody to try to stay professional in and not crack a smile and just like, what have I got myself into here? So I appreciate you sharing that story for sure. That's a good one.
Yeah, well, Daniel, thank you for coming on. You definitely have some great advice for our listener base and the entrepreneurs that are listening. You bring your A game, and that's evident even with the way you dress.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so, just want to make a quick mention about our sponsors who make these conversations possible. Today's episode is supported by Gray Cross, 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to supporting trucking families during times of crisis and unexpected hardship. Gray Cross helps families who have lost loved ones on our roadways, and Gray Cross is there to support those families and, again, that unexpected hardship. Also, Ready App, a driver onboarding and verification platform built to help drivers, carriers, and brokers operate with more transparency and trust. You can visit them at ready-app.com. And then I forgot to give Gray Cross's website. It's graycross.org, graycross.org.
Yeah, we appreciate them. Again, we appreciate you coming on today and give us your insight, your great way of speaking and how you treat your employees. I wish you and your company nothing but the best. We thank everybody for tuning in today for another episode of Behind the Wheelhouse.
Drive safe out there, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.